a con man, forged bonds, and a death that helped bring down a government.
Everyone remembers the day when Serge Stavisky walked into a mountain chalet, and a nation asked whether he had been murdered. It was January 8, 1934, the day the man who had sold France a dream of easy profit and political protection was found dead in Chamonix. The official record called it suicide. The crowds called it a cover-up. The truth lay tangled in forged bonds, municipal pawnbrokers, and a network of favors that reached into the highest offices of the Third Republic. Serge Alexander Stavisky was not born to grandeur. A Russian-born immigrant who built a career in France as a serial fraudster. He perfected a long con that wore the costume of respectability. At the center of his scheme were municipal pawnshops and small-town bond issues, instruments meant to be safe, conservative investments. Stavisky issued and sold notes backed by a supposedly reputable caisse in Bayonne and other towns. Investors saw endorsed paper, and politicians saw local development. Stavisky saw an opportunity to paper over debt with fresh sales, and to buy silence with cash. When his paper began to unravel, it became clear that his prosperity depended on one commodity: protection. Investigations, when they came, moved with the lethargy of a state that had learned to tolerate murk. Magistrates who should have pressed charges were delayed. Judges who should have pursued evidence were reassigned. Names popped up in testimony: mayors, deputies, and men in the judiciary, men with the means to stop an inquiry and the motive to avoid one. Stavisky's relationship with political patrons was not merely social, it was transactional. He bought favors, and in return the Republic preserved a fiction that finance and politics were cleanly separate. When the press exposed the scale of the fraud in late 1933, the scramble began. Stavisky, sensing danger, slipped out of Grenoble and reappeared in Chamonix. 2 days after police announced a warrant, he was dead in a chalet room. The official photograph showed a gunshot wound and a shattered window, a scene arranged to look like final despair. But whispers do not respect forensic reports. Newspapers ran invasive headlines. Right-wing leagues accused the government of arranging an execution to preserve reputations. Left-wing papers called the death the inevitable outcome of a corrupt system. In salons and on street corners, the same rumors circulated. The state had murdered a man who could expose it. The fury did not stay bottled. In February 1934, clamors boiled over into the streets of Paris. Crowds marched toward the National Assembly, their banners calling for purges. The demonstration on February 6 turned violent. Police and marchers clashed in the heart of the capital. The government staggered and fell. For many Frenchmen, Stavisky's death was the final proof that the Republic was rotten to the core, that democracy's institutions could be bought, bent, or silenced. Historians still debate the mechanics of the conspiracy. What is certain is this: Stavisky's schemes relied on systemic tolerance. Judges who looked the other way, politicians who accepted gifts, a judiciary compromised by patronage. His death, whether suicide or assassination, became the emblem of a deeper disorder: the erosion of public trust. The Stavisky affair did not simply topple cabinets, it reshaped political alignments. And it left an abiding question: how does a republic defend itself when its guardians are willing to sell the keys? The image of a man in a chalet, dead, ambiguous, and huge in the national imagination, endures as proof that a single criminal, helped by complacency and complicity, can shake the foundations of a nation, republic.
Because in the end, this wasn't just about the crime/person. It was about power, corruption, the system, society, trust, justice.